Hi, everyone. I'm Jody Schwan from Sioux Falls Business. Welcome to another edition of Talent Thursday. Denise Gazetta, our partner over at the Sioux Falls Development Foundation, who leads talent and workforce development, does such a good job lining up a really nice variety of people for you to hear from, to learn from. And today, she really has an expert joining us with a lot of different things that we can cover. So get ready, because whether you are an employer, whether you're a student, whether you're a career professional looking to make a next move, we are going to have something that is going to be valuable for you. I guarantee it. So hi, Denise.
Hi, Jody, and welcome to our wonderful spring weather. And let's welcome Karen DeLange from Alternative HR. Truly an expert in HR and all things work-related, but also in our community. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you. That's quite an introduction and a little intimidating, so I'll try to live up to that.
So sometimes I feel like, you know what, the timing just works out. And for those of you who also are readers of Sioux Falls Business, first of all, thank you for that. Second of all, if you have visited the site today, maybe you have seen a piece from Alternative HR. They've been partnering with us to provide some really good content about what they do. And today's headline, I think, says it all. So I'm just going to use that to lead into it. And that is helping employers recruit top talent, because that's what it's all about. And as I learned in this story, Karen, from you, it is harder than ever because talent is looking for more than ever before.
Yeah, and I think that expectations of employees have changed over time. And so we really, as employers, compete with other employers for the same talent. And so you do have to set yourself apart as the employer because they're savvy. They know what they want.
Tell me a little bit about, for people who are not familiar with Alternative HR, what do you specialize in? Are there particular industries that you tend to work with more regularly?
So alternative HR it's fractional human resources services, and we've been in business for over 32 years. So before fractional HR was a thing, and it's small employers especially have to compete for top talent. They need to follow the laws. They need to, and they're just so busy wearing multiple hats, doing multiple things. So we come alongside and provide that extra resource for them, and we can become their on-site HR department or help them with projects. So we do a lot of recruiting for lots of different industries.
I'm going to quote from this piece again, because I think it's just so telling. And the quote is, when it comes to hiring, there are a lot of boxes the employer has to check for a candidate to even want to consider the job opening, to
Oh,
even
so
get
true.
them in the door. You already have this high barrier. Give me a sense of what that translates to, Karen. What are employees looking for before they even decide to apply?
So it is so interesting. And so again, the workforce has changed. So if someone is not happy in their job, they may be on break in their car or in the bathroom at your facility, looking on Indeed or some other resource for a job. So if your job is not easy to apply, they're going to skip right over it, because just remember, they might be trying to do it from their phone. So
Right.
so I think that's one of the things that we see, especially with small employers. You can't do the whole, here's a laundry list of boring tasks that you're going to be doing, and go ahead and send me your resume to this PO box or apply or send me an email or something. You do need to make it easy for them, or they're going to skip
Interesting.
on it.
Yeah.
It also needs to be interesting. I mean, I think the job seeker today wants to know where they're going. Again, we've, for a long time been kind of in charge of our own career path, but even more so now. I think today's, young workers especially, they want to be giving back. They want to be doing something. They want to be community oriented. And so if you're just saying, here's what you're going to do for me, here's what I want you
Yeah.
to do for me, that's not
Yeah.
going to cut it anymore. They want to know what you're doing for the community. So you got to sell that.
Well, and this might be the job I'm applying for today, but then what's your plan for me once I'm in the door?
Absolutely. I think career path is very important to people. And if they don't find it with you, they're going to find it externally. So you need to
Mhm.
make sure that you just getting them in the door is not, I mean, that's hard. Don't get me
Right?
wrong. But once they're in the door, you need to keep them and
Right.
keep them excited.
Yeah, it amazes me how weak, frankly, some job descriptions are. And I tell Denise, you probably tell employers this too. I mean, you have to sell it right out the gate.
You do have to sell it. And I do think, Karen's advice is just so spot on. It has to really be, I mean, we're in an employee-centric market. We're in a skills-based economy, okay? We are looking at things very, very differently today than we were, when I graduated college years ago, much longer than I would even care to remember, right? Or even share. But the point is, we have to be flexible and resilient, and you have to be able to be today so adaptable, so flexible in your approach, but then also centered on what people really want from work. So it's a different occasion. It's a different situation. And I think trying to put that into a template, if you use a template and then market yourself, it's a tall order. It's a really tall order. And I think, Karen, one of the things you just said too, it's not just about just applying for the job and getting them. It's also about keeping them and developing them and retaining them. Because you don't want in this economy, and especially in this age of media, for people to be leaving. You want them to stay. You want them to share their experiences. And it all starts with changing your mindset. It's not the same job market when I entered, 20 some years ago. It's a different time.
So
Yeah.
Karen, let's say, okay, you get them in the door, they're applying, right? You like what you see as the employer.
Right.
They're interviewing you often as much, I think, as you're interviewing them. So, if you're really trying to attract that top talent, what strategies do you suggest employers look at when they're having that conversation and really having that two-way interview?
Yeah, so one of the mistakes that we see, especially in this competitive job market, is they apply, they come in, and then that'll maybe be a very good candidate. If you don't reach out to that candidate, sometimes within 24 hours or less, you've lost them because you're competing with the other people that have. So one of the things that we do for people is we do that initial first touch. So when we post a job for you, again, it's got to be a job post is not a job description. A job post is a marketing piece. So you got to get them to apply first. But once they apply, is then get back to them right away. So we'll call them up and we'll find out why they applied, get some basic information for them. But honestly, the purpose for that first call is also a sales call because we want to get them excited about that particular position. They may have applied for 5, 10 positions or 4, whatever. They may not remember. They may just be throwing darts out there. So to help them go, oh, this is why you want to work here for this company.
Right. And to have that instant gratification, someone is contacting you right away.
Yeah, it's pretty intimidating. I mean, I think when we're in a job, we forget how hard it is to apply for a job. You're putting yourself out there and you want that, again, especially in today's day and age, but always that immediate gratification. Okay, did they like me? Here I am,
Right.
and then you hear nothing and your
Yeah.
confidence wanes again. So.
Right, exactly. What are some of those really differentiating factors that you think employees are looking for? Maybe you're working with a candidate who might have a couple offers. What is it that tends to tip the scale? Do you see some trends there as far as how they're ultimately making those decisions about where to work?
Yeah, a lot of times it is the employer who is selling their maybe it's their benefits. They don't care about that so much. They maybe new employees new to the workforce still care about how much money, and it is still a very competitive market as far as money goes. But they all still want that flexibility, and COVID has really advanced a lot of that. People love the hybrid option. They love the work from home idea. Sometimes they like the work at office idea. So hybrid seems to be that perfect match. You still have people that want to come in, especially if they're new to the workforce. They want to come in and make those relationships, get to know their boss because they maybe want to impress their boss, get to know their coworkers. They want to collaborate, but to give that hybrid option gives them a little bit the best of both worlds.
Does that sort of tie in with what you also hear from workers, Denise?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we launched a new initiative here at the Sioux Falls Development Foundation with launching a talent development advisory board where we're bringing colleges and high schools and employers together, because one of the things we realize is as we grow, and we are growing. I mean, we've consistently been adding between 5 to 7,000 people a year for the last couple of years, 5 years, 6 years. And so what happens is you need to really look at that linkage, that alignage, and see where you're going, and are you really doing everything that you can? So what we're talking about here today is so timely because we were talking about how do you create that value? How do you articulate that value? How do you make sure that you're not just trying to put something out there and this is a flash drive, this is what we do. No, how do you go from that sort of model that most of us that are experienced kind of grew up in to now this really eccentric, very personalized work matters, the community matters, what we're doing as an organization matters. And that's a very different mindset. And I would even say, we talk about this newest generation and how they're kind of changing sort of the playbook for workforce, but this is something that we're seeing across all experience levels. So hybrid, yes, because you want to connect them, especially in those first couple of years. Get them into the environment, the water cooler talk, all the things that's happening, because that's the emotional piece that they have to be tied into, and then get them out there in the community, engaged in your work as, sort of that volunteer. And that's one of the things we really do well here in the Sioux Falls community, but in the Sioux Falls Advantage is we're so plugged in to helping each other and really lifting each other up. And that's exactly what employees want today. And that's exactly what we were talking about earlier today. So
now, okay, employers, we've talked to you, we've told you what Karen and Denise are seeing out there, but employees, talent, you're part of this too. And you don't just walk in and claim any job that interests you. So Karen,
Sometimes.
maybe the exception, right? We talk to a lot of students. So first job, right? We got to set expectations here in some cases. But Karen, are there some sort of standard tips or maybe things that you feel like you're telling candidates a lot that they could be, keeping in mind to just set themselves apart that much more and to distinguish themselves, things that maybe they could benefit from that way?
Yeah, you know what? When you're in the workforce, it's still kind of the old school way of communicating. So we do some texting back to employees, but they need to be able to check their email. They need to have a voicemail that works because we're probably going to leave a message. They need to check it. They need to follow up and be professional about it. And it's some of the same tips still hold true of send that follow-up email. You can look on the website to find out the person's email address or however you were invited to the meeting, but do some of those just common sense courtesy. It's amazing. I've been saying that same thing for years and years, and it's such a small fraction of people and applicants actually do that.
Oh, wow.
A follow-up email and thank them.
But it matters. It makes an impression.
It matters. Absolutely.
It does. But that's one of the things that we're seeing is one of the number one questions I get asked all the time, whether it's a high school or it's a college. Tell me about how I prepare for an interview. Tell me about how I follow up from an interview. What's the expectation? And it all boils down to communication. And if you take a look at COVID, we're thinking COVID gave us a lot of good things, like we've kind of immersed ourselves in technology, but it also, in those kind of formative, more structured traditional relationships, the way things progress, it kind of threw that all up in the air. And that's where going back to those basic things, good communication, being polite, being courteous, responding, your salutation in an email does matter. And that's one of the things is sometimes people will say, Denise, you're so formal and your approach to emails. No, that's the expectation in a business. And nobody's ever going to accuse you of being too formal. They are going to accuse you of not being prepared and not really understanding what the rules of engagement are. So.
Right. I think too, maybe Karen, let's speak to that mid-career professional, because I am hearing a lot of that. And again, I think it's sort of a post-COVID thing, but a lot of people weighing their options. They're saying, do I want to spend the next 5 to 10 years of my career here? Maybe I don't see that path to growth. Maybe my supervisor isn't going to retire for another however many years. I just don't see that opportunity. But where do I go? I haven't interviewed for a job in years. I don't even know how to look. Do you have any tips maybe for those people? Because we want to keep them in Sioux Falls with all those skills and those relationships that they've built. We don't want them looking elsewhere.
You know, we've been in Sioux Falls now for about 25 years, but before that I was in Kansas City. And at the time that we moved here, I thought, I'm going to move back to a small town and I'm going to see everyone I know from high school every time I go to the grocery store. And that is completely not the truth.
Right.
And even after now living here for the past 25 years, it is surprising to me how big we are and how many times I go out and I don't know people. And from the person in mid-career, I would say, you never know. First of all, there may be opportunities in your company, but so don't just choose leaving. If it's problems or interpersonal situations, let me tell you, that is in every single company. So you're not going to leave it and find the perfect world somewhere else. So don't leave for that reason. Try to figure it out first. But secondly, if you want to change careers, now is the time to try it, because there are people that are looking for experience and they're much more open to training maybe on a specific field, but you have the right kind of interpersonal skills, that soft skills that are transferable, and they'll teach you their trade. So if you really do want to leave, there really isn't something there for you. Choose carefully. Know that you're going to something and not away from something, but then go ahead and try it.
Denise, what do you think for that mid-career person? What sort of advice might you have for them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just Karen's spot on, right? I would say, because when you do get into sort of that part in your career where things are different, right? If I think about early on, it really was money and title and progression. And, you bring in kids and flexibility. And then you still have that side that still, wants to have those career challenges and wants to have that intellectual, curiosity kind of satiated. So I would say to people, think long, look at the people in your network that you trust. For me, that was Tom Kelly. Tom Kelly, the former CEO and president of Gage. He was a good friend of mine. Somebody, when I went into a brand new, and I was recruited from the banking industry into manufacturing, was right there by my side, supporting me, being that champion. And when I did get to the point where I wanted to make that change, was somebody that I looked for advice. So everybody has somebody in their market, in their corner. Think about that and kind of walk through with them, because there are a lot of amazing opportunities, but you do want to leave for the right reasons. For me, it became, I really was very centered on making sure that the community my children are growing up in is really very nurturing and very inclusive. And I looked at people that were in high school very differently, because I was then having these middle school children that were going into high school and they're still in high school. And so that matters. And so I would just say, the best advice is find somebody in your network that you trust and that really can guide you, because to me, that was Tom Kelly. 5 years ago, and he has since passed, but I always make sure to pay that forward. And be that advice or be that guidance or that mentor to somebody that may be looking to change.
Great advice. Leave for the right reason. Very, very good advice. And by midpoint in the career, we ought to be able to know what that is, right? Don't get distracted by all of the noise. And as you said, the personality conflicts that inevitably will arise. There are challenging people everywhere. This is true. This is true.
So true.
Businesses, there are ways that you can work with alternative HR. And I would say it is more of a business relationship, right? We're not necessarily going to send you talent, or maybe we are, Karen, I don't know. But what makes sense if someone's listening and saying, these people sound like they know what they're doing. I want to connect. I want to learn more with them.
So I'm going to first talk to the talent, because we recruit for a lot of different companies. So right now we're recruiting for a bank, we're recruiting for an ad agency, we're recruiting for counties, for cities, construction, nonprofits. So we really cover all of that. So we have a careers page where we'll post not even all of our jobs, but all of the ones that we're posting directly through us. And we're doing anything from a summer pool or golf person up to, we've got a couple of executive director positions on there. So check out our website. It's alternativehr.com. And then from the business side of it too, you can contact me directly. I'm on LinkedIn. My picture's on Alternative HR along with my email address. And contact us. We're happy to help. We take off some of that busy work from you so that you can concentrate on growing your business while we'll make sure the talent and the people and things get in front of you and streamline that process for you. Some of that busy work, that side work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
alternativehr.com.
impressive. The more I've learned about the firm and all of the services offered. They've been around a long time. You learn a lot and you adapt along the way. Denise, anything that stands to you also about alternative HR before we wrap up?
The people, so Karen and I have been part of the SHRM group for a long time. This is my first time actually getting to meet her, like virtually, but in person, right? So you hear the name, you see the name, you people, you kind of your colleagues and, acquaintances. But one thing that stands out, okay, is there's so many wonderful people like Karen at Alternative HR. And I think about my own experience, where you are part of that small team. And this was previous, part of a small team. You need that expertise and that help. And sometimes you don't even know where to begin. But here, there's a great resource. Just reach out to Karen. So I can't say enough really, nice things about my experiences with, it's not just Karen, but her entire team. Really just very helpful walking you through both from, that employer with all of those things, because you are looking for somebody that their expertise is in human resources. So, and you want to stay out. I would always say, my husband does a lot of employment law. I don't look at an orange. He doesn't look at an orange. So be mindful of that. And that's okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
sometimes we don't even know what we don't know. So work with people who do know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Karen, thanks so much for joining us. Alternative HR is the name of the firm, and come back again next week because we've got a great lineup here on Talent Thursday. If you do have questions, of course, you can drop those in the chat. The team at the Development Foundation will keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Thursday and the weekend ahead. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.